So, very nice. Good afternoon. Michael, if you would also come already on stage, that would be great. Then we can start. So we have the pleasure of having a presentation at the 5 o'clock slot. So I hope everybody is still full of energy. So we try to make it as energetic as possible. Today, Michael Perschke, whom I'll gladly introduce as the CEO of truck manufacturer and beyond truck manufacturer Quantron, and I, Jens Wulff of NEUMAN and ESSER, we would love to talk about how to solve the hen-and-egg problem by forming an H2 mobility alliance. And basically, this slide already says it all, and I could go off stage, but of course, I have to tell you something more. So we would start with a short company introduction, which we would love to make. Then we will talk about the H2 value chain, which you probably have seen very often, but we try to make it very, very precise what is really the challenging parts in there. And then we would introduce together the H2 Alliance for Mobility and the Quantron as a service concept as its maximum form of offering an integrated mobility solution. So, where we come from, basically, this is a nice example that even very old companies who have been around for Industrial Revolution 1.0 and energy transition #1, from muscle power of horses and stuff like that to coal and steam engines, have adapted over the years, went through the other energy evolution to electricity, to then back from electricity to combustion engines with diesel and gasoline. And now we are all going back to electricity and hydrogen as an energy carrier. So that's what we have done, and we think this is quite an impressive way. This here is the hydrogen value chain, as you probably have seen it very often. And as an original compressor manufacturer, where we come from, we always thought like somehow all these diagrams we see, they show some wind farm, they show perhaps some photovoltaics, and then they show some electrolyzers and some happy end users. And there, in the middle, there was this magic box, like in a project. And we said, okay, there is some magic, but we know how to do and how to perform these magic tricks by using our compressors. So that's how we basically started like 5-6 years ago to use our 100-year experience in building hydrogen compressors. The oldest one, which is still in operation, was installed in 1937 and it's still running. To use this experience, what we have, and basically integrate and grow all along the H2 value chain by also offering production, as you see it here with the electrolyzers we are now having in our portfolio, but by also offering entire fuel stations. So that was the step. And just to basically, for all of you to have one slide which makes you bullshit-proof, to put it like that, for other people, there's a few figures on there. When you adhere to them, nobody can tell you any strange stories about hydrogen. It's very clear from the calorific value, per kilogram, hydrogen is super. Per volume, uncompressed, it's medium super, or very bad, you could also say. So whenever you want to store hydrogen, you want to transport hydrogen, or you want to convert hydrogen to something else, you always have to compress it. And this is also very clear, a rough rule of thumb. If you want to make 1 kilogram of hydrogen from electrolysis, you will almost, with every procedure, you will need around 50 kilowatt hours of energy, and you will need slightly more than a good bucket of water. And this is what you will always be looking at. And this also shows you the mathematics for the economic case behind. 1 cent more of electricity cost will automatically increase the price per kilogram by 50 cents. So what is a good business case when you can buy electricity for 5 cents per kilowatt hour will directly die when, for example, the electric company tells you, we make you a good deal, it will only cost 20 cents per kilowatt hour. Then it's already dead, the business case. That's very simple. Liquefaction is a good method of getting more energy density in, but it also consumes a lot of energy. Yeah? Roughly, as you see, 30 to 40% of the energy stored inside the hydrogen is taken from that. So that's clear. The other thing is, if you want to replace natural gas with hydrogen, this factor of 3.7 applies roughly. Yeah, so 1 cubic meter of natural gas has a lower heating value of around 11 kilowatt hours, whereas for hydrogen it's only 3. So that's where the factor comes from. We need, right now, we're talking about 100 million tons of hydrogen which are produced every year, and out of it, less than 1% is coming from not steam methane reforming without any treatment, the so-called gray hydrogen. By 2050, prognoses say we need 500 to 700 million tons, preferably green. So the feat, the task which we all commonly have to solve together is to multiply the production of green hydrogen by now, or let's say of non-gray hydrogen by now, by a factor of 500 to 700 in the next 22 years. I wish us all a lot of success for that. And one fun fact before we go into the talking about our common concept is 1 cubic meter of liquid hydrogen contains less hydrogen atoms than a cubic meter of water. So best greetings to Mr. van der Waals, if you see him. So here you see basically what NEUMAN ESSER is doing in this alliance. We are the ones who are building not only hydrogen compressors, but now who are building electrolyzers, compressors, storage, dispenser, stuff, of course, which we engineer together. We don't make Type 4 tanks by ourselves, we buy them in, but we engineer them and we simulate. And here you can see basically an electrolyzer. This is a 5 megawatt electrolyzer running at a certain power pattern, producing 1,805 kilograms per day. And the demand you see is 1,796 kilograms, if you can see it up there. And this is what we can all simulate. We can see what amount of energy goes in the electrolyzer, what amount of energy goes in the compressors, what goes in the chillers with a coefficient of power. And coming from this point, we then decided if we want to get the breakthrough on the market, it is nice that we can offer nice hydrogen fuel stations, but I think we have to make the ball really round by partnering up with somebody who is also building an off-taker, who's building trucks and operating the fleet. And then ideally, we will later show that somebody who's also then operating and perhaps even now operating existing fuel stations, which can be expanded and converted. And that's why, Michael, I'm glad to hand over to you. I think we made it quite nice on time. Exactly, to show basically where we are. Please take over. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. So my name is Perschke, I'm the CEO of Quantron. Can you raise your hands if you're in the production or the upstream business of hydrogen? Who is in the uptake side of hydrogen? Okay, good. That's always the problem when you come to conferences. There's a lot of intent of producing hydrogen, oil and gas companies and whatsoever, but there's still a lack of uptake. So that's why we wanted to solve a chicken and egg situation. NEUMAN ESSER technically knows how to produce hydrogen and deliver technology. You need dispensing, and finally you need trucks and buses to use the hydrogen. And that's where we come from. We come originally from, similar like you, we are 50 years younger than you, only 140 years. We started with horse carriages. So we've been through every cycle of transportation. And horse carriages, we can discuss it as zero emission or not, close to. We started then retrofitting or repurposing diesel vehicles, and then we started basically with hydrogen. And then we understood, well, we can build hydrogen trucks, but we need hydrogen production. We are proud, we went for financing rounds. We are a family spin-off, but we are venture funded, so we also need external capital. We're also proud we put the first electric truck ever into Saudi Arabia. And right now, our plans is Europe and US. And that's why we also go for a next financing round, because we need to scale globally. We believe there's a window of opportunity open to not just produce vehicles, but to establish an ecosystem. And how does that ecosystem look like? Not everything we do, we have on our balance sheet, but we need to organize a 360-degree experience, because our clients are the Daxers, the Schenkers, the Faircoms, the Geodis, you name them, and the brands. And the brands will not switch technology until they know they get something close to a one-stop shop experience. So you need to source green energy. And you can only produce green molecules if somehow you have access to green electrons. So we need to build a supply chain with partners. How do we get green molecules to the dispenser? And we help to organize that. We have uptake agreements with Norwegian Hydrogen, with Vesgas. We have partnerships with waste-to-hydrogen companies. We build our own truck. And needless to say, we are currently European-wide the technology leader. We have the most integrated truck, no backpack, fully integrated in the frame, and no reduction on payload and on trailer length. Nobody else can do that right now in Europe. And we need to provide downstream services, and we collaborate also with NEUMAN ESSER, because if you come with a truck to a fueling point, you want to make sure you have 700 bar, 50 kilogram available. Otherwise, we have no advantage to charging. So the key advantage is you go in, you go out, less than 15 minutes, and you have another 700 kilometers of range. We have today, in Europe, the broadest network of zero-emission vehicles available by any product brand. We do fuel cell, we do electric, we have 60 cars only running last mile for IKEA in Vienna at a 98% service degree, and in the middle you see our flagship product. So we are 100% zero emissions since inception. When I meet my OEM friends, they always talk about their ambitions 2035, 2040. We are 100% zero emission today. And this is basically what we do, and I jump back to that slide. This is not a walk in the park. Putting all these loose ends together is a humongous job. So our mission is not to operate today an OEM-specific ecosystem. Our ambition is to create an OEM-agnostic ecosystem with NEUMAN ESSER. We have a few clients in this room, including Air Products. We talk to the leading H2 producers because we want to secure that our clients can travel from Lisbon to Oslo and from Istanbul to Amsterdam and have no pain in getting green hydrogen at competitive prices, which today is the major turnoff factor. It's the cost of deploying technology and the insecurity of fueling. And that's why I believe everybody who's only looking at one piece of the puzzle is not going to succeed. That's why we would create what we call an open alliance. So we're not creating an MS-DOS or an iOS. We create a kind of a Linux. Everybody can join and be part of an alliance, because as you see in this room, if all these companies join forces, then, and only then, hydrogen has a role to play in decarbonization of transport. If everybody fights their own little battles, we're not going to succeed, because electric is already there and hydrogen is complementary. It's not substituting. Hydrogen applications are different than electric application. Last mile, we clearly believe electric has a key role to play, especially if your grid is strong enough. Long distance heavy transport, rail, trucks and ships will go over hydrogen or green ammonia. That's, I think, our common mission. Yeah. And we have close to 1.5 minutes if anybody has a question. Thank you.
Great job. So,
any questions?
Yeah, exactly.
Please be courageous.
Yes.
You get a free selfie with us.
Exactly, free selfies and perhaps a hug, now that COVID is over. Perhaps one point which is important is, you know, this level, what we have shown, this Quantron as a service, that's the highest level you can have. And of course, you need a critical mass. And there's also basically stepwise levels below. From if you have a sufficient high fleet, we can do even retrofitting of trucks. Yes. And building a fuel station for you, or we can deliver you a few trucks and also a fuel station together. That's in there. The core is what you saw basically. It's an integrated data ecosystem, because we both, that's why we found together, believe if you want to solve Industry 5.0, which is the energy transition, you must be champion in Industry 4.0, which is digitalization. Otherwise, it will not work, right?
And it will be carbon accounting. So very soon, zero emission doesn't mean if you plug in an energy plug, that it's green. Sorry. 70% of the grid is not green today in most of the countries. Some are better, some are worse. So once ESG really goes down of a source of a molecule and the electron, green hydrogen is green, 100%. Blue hydrogen, we can debate.
Exactly.
But if you charge your Tesla in California, sorry, 70% of the energy charging is gray and brown. So the minute ESG goes down to tracking that, to carbon accounting, yeah, we talk again. Thank you
Exactly.
very much.
Thank you so much, Michael. It was again a great show. Thank you.